the break, we asked which rock and roll singer was nicknamed The Killer. And the answer is C, Jerry Lee Lewis.
So it's the final part of our show with Jackie and Martin, and a warm welcome as well to the broadcasting legend, David Hamilton. Hi, David.
Yeah. Yes, good morning, Jeremy.
That voice, oh my goodness, that's radio history. How lovely to see. And you're doing a daily show even now, is that right?
Yes, I think I'm making broadcasting history. I think I'm the oldest person ever to launch a daily radio show.
Well, tell us about that.
Well, last year was a terrible year, as it was for most people, and lots of things were cancelled. And towards the end of the year, I had a phone call saying, we're launching a new radio station. Would you like to be part of it? They said, you'll have your own studio at home. We'll give you a microphone, and here it is. Hello, Mike. And we'll give you some headphones, and it's all COVID friendly. And you'll broadcast. This is my little studio, and this is where I broadcast from every day.
And this is Boom Radio, right?
This is Boom Radio. Yeah, it's radio for the boomers. And we started off with a few DABs and a few other outlets around the country. But the response was so good that last Friday we went national. So we are now on national DAB.
I know you've been busy, David, because you've also got a book out called Commercial Radio Days. And that's what your story in commercial radio.
Yes, I wrote it last year when we were in lockdown. I had written a book just before called The Golden Days of Radio 1. And this was a follow-up about my experiences in commercial radio. And at the end of the book, I realized that 15 radio stations that I work for are no longer there. So there are one of two conclusions. Either it's a very insecure business or I'm a jinx.
Well, listen, you started in 1959. We've got a clip, actually. What have we got? Top of the Pops? This is 76. David on Top of the Pops. Let's have a look.
Right, that was Simon May and The Summer of My Life. After his last Top of the Pops, Tony Blackburn was very worried. He wasn't feeling very well. He had to go and see his doctor, and his doctor said, don't worry. He gave him a medical. He said, don't worry. He said, you've got nothing to worry about. He said, you've got the body of a 20-year-old man. The only thing is the 20-year-old man wants it back. Let's play that funky music with Ruby Flipper.
I think these days they probably wouldn't allow that joke, you know.
No, they don't allow anything. Now, did you notice the jacket? That was a BBC jacket, small checks.
I thought you were rocking a bit of a Paul Simon look there. But listen, you started,
Yes.
You broadcast in 1959 for the first time. And I'm going to suggest that your era of music was the best. Do you think so?
Yeah, I was doing my national service in the RAF and I was posted to Germany, and I persuaded the boss there to let me have a rock and roll show. They'd never had rock and roll before, so I had one of the first shows to play rock and roll. So I played Elvis Presley, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis. It was the music that changed the world. And as you say, Jeremy, that was a golden era, followed, of course, by the 60s, the Beatles, the Stones, Motown. So what a fabulous, that was the music that I grew up with. And I think that was the best music really of all time. I worked with the Beatles. I did one of the first television interviews with them. That was in 1963, and later that year I introduced them in concert in Manchester, and I remember tickets to see the Beatles were 10 shillings. So in today's money, that's 50 pence.
Gosh, that's incredible. Imagine if they were together today. All right, well, David's voice has been heard by millions across dozens of radio stations, not just in the UK, but across Europe. So we're going to see how many of the stations you remember. Do you want to play a little game here, David?
Yes, absolutely.
OK, this is What's the Frequency, David? I love this. All right, this is great. So you can see my radio here, David. I've got frequencies up here. They're all stations you've worked on, and I'm going to start with 99.8. What's that?
Do you know, Jeremy, I can't remember. It must be a long time ago. I can't remember. What is 99.8?
99.8, you'll know when I tell you, is KCFM. That makes sense?
Yes. KCFM in Hull.
Yes, exactly. Hang on. I think I can turn this round just a bit. I'm going to have to be brutal here. All right. KCFM in Hull. Exactly so. When did you work there?
Yes. Well, in this millennium, a few years ago, I went up there and did some shows up there along with some of my other colleagues. And I love going to the different towns, particularly the north. The audiences in the north of England are very friendly, and so I love working for stations like that.
Don't worry, if you don't get any of them right, David, it doesn't matter at all. What's 102.9? Where did you work there?
102.9 sounds to me like it might have been a Saga station.
Yes, it is. It's Radio 210, Thames Valley. Yeah?
Oh, no, that's not Saga. That was the first commercial station that I worked for. Radio 210, yes, that's right, Thames Valley.
This is the best game ever. I think let's go for 5 in a row. Right, 105.7. Where is 105.7 on the dial, David?
Yeah, isn't it awful? I remember the stations, but I'm not very good on the wavelengths. That was possibly a Saga station, yeah?
Yes, you're absolutely right, David. That is Saga for sure. 105.7. Well done. That's a good one for you. Good memory there,
Jeremy. I think that was Saga Birmingham.
Okay, Saga. Sorry, I'm just trying to attack. Saga
was in radio at one time.
This is going to fall down. Right now, this is tricky. David, 107.7.
Is that another? That's maybe another Saga station. Is that Saga Nottingham, perhaps?
Go on, give me. It begins with an S, and it's a suggestion of water.
Water.
Splash FM.
Oh, Splash FM. Yeah, that was a station that I was one of the founders of. That was a local radio station in Sussex, and Splash was named after Splash Point in Worthing.
Now, if we change the dial here and we go to AM, to medium wave, and I give you the frequency 1548, I know you're going to know straight away.
Yes, 1548 was Capital Gold.
Yep.
That was Golden Oldie Station in London, and I was there in the 90s. Yeah, there it is, Capital Gold.
You were, and I used to listen to you a lot on that. And of course, if I said 275, 285, well, we're straight there with Radio 1, aren't we?
Yes, well, Radio 1 was originally on 247 on the medium wave, which then became known as AM.
Right. Well, listen, I tell you what, that is fascinating. And what's interesting is we don't necessarily remember frequencies, Storm. Why should we? They're not just numbers.
Everything's digital now. You just click and it changes. Nobody has to fiddle around with any FM dials. David,
stay with us for some more stories. Martin's got one in the Star about people wearing wristbands.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, actually. This is the Amazon Halo, £72. They're available now, and they're like a Fitbit, except they listen to you, and they listen to what you say and your intonation, and it can work out if you're angry, if you're happy, if you're neutral, if you're sad, and it helps you improve your mood. Now, the story moves on, where it now turns out that workplaces are thinking about getting employees to wear these so they can monitor their workforce's moods. And then, of course, the inference being this could be used as a way of cleansing the workplace of angry people and getting calm people in who might be cheaper and younger. So a classic piece of Daily Star tabloid-esque headlining is turning workplaces into woke places. And it could be coming to a workplace near you, so you better make sure you've got your best mood on.
OK, Jackie's got another story in the Star. Britain is the least forgiving nation in the world.
Yeah, this is a survey about how likely we are to trust or to forgive a business or a person who's let us down. And apparently in the UK, we are the least trusting. So if you're let down by a business, in the UK, you are most likely not to trust them again. 42% of Brits said they would never trust a person or a business again who'd let them down. Whereas in the US, they've got the smallest number who wouldn't trust. So only 28% wouldn't trust. And you would have thought in the US, they would have been more driven by good customer service. But it seems that it's us who've got very, very high standards and are very unforgiving. So be careful, businesses out there. Don't let us down.
Yeah, I was trying to work out a way of summarising this. And essentially, David, it's that we are... Once we're let down, we never trust again. Does that make sense?
I agree with that totally. I think if somebody lets you down, you don't trust them again. Why would you? It would be silly to do that. So I think we're wise about that.
Yeah. OK. But the Americans, I mean, you think Trump, the way Trump does business, You let him down. You're only allowed to let him down once.
I'm not entirely sure that Trump represents the whole of the USA, and thank goodness for that.
OK, I'm going to mention a story in the Times here. I must say, I love this, but I think not everyone does, it's fair to say. There's an absolutely rampant demand for e-scooters, the things with the skateboards with a handle, basically, and a motor. I see people shooting past me faster than I can cycle. They're going 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. The problem is that the government's been a real difficulty over what to do. You're not allowed to have them on the pavement because they've got a motor. You're not allowed to have them on the road because it makes drivers really angry. So you're what?
It's also quite dangerous, Jeremy.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't just make drivers angry.
Drivers get angry when somebody appears in front of them, and. So anyway, the answer is the government has now said that if you have a licensed one, you can have it on the road, and the demand for the licensed ones are going through the roof. We're going to, in the end, have to just accept people are going to use these, Jackie, aren't we?
Well, it's certainly more environmentally friendly than using a car, isn't it? It's probably quicker to get from one place to another as well. But I suppose you would be a bit worried if you were a bit not good on your feet and somebody came whizzing past you, even if they weren't on the pavement, you might be a little bit worried. So I think it will be a responsibility on people using them to use them sensibly. But I quite fancy having one, I have to say.
Have you seen them around, David? These what do we call e-scooters? We call them, don't we? Yeah.
Jeremy, I haven't, because I live in the country and I'm not going anywhere because I'm locked down, so I haven't seen them. From what I hear about them, I think they're dangerous. And, you said they virtually can't go anywhere. So I think they're a danger. I think they're going to be the new menace.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's dangerous to ride them on the roads, that's for sure. But that's not because of them, it's because of motor vehicles.
I think it's more dangerous to drive them on the pavements.
Yeah, for sure.
For
I think
pedestrians.
Particularly worries people that, yeah. I mean, if they were to say, Martin, all right, we've clearly got this wrong, you go on the roads with anything you like, surely that would be brilliant. I mean, I've seen people with skateboards on Oxford Street and roller skates, but what would that would just slow cars down and cause fewer crashes, wouldn't it?
Jeremy, as we all know, you're a fan of the penny farthing, so your bar is very low on this one. You don't mind going at 1 mile an hour and toppling off anywhere that you happen to be. But as far as these scooters go, I see them lots. I commute into London every day. I have been since I've been allowed to work, and they are absolutely rocketing in numbers. And particularly at night time, they're really, really hard to see. And there's a lot of young lads just bombing around high streets with no helmets on, no lights on. And I think we're going to see a spike in accidents, and then I think the government will be forced to take a position.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm obviously in the minority. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's nothing.
I don't know if you are in the minority. There's a reason they're rocketing. It's because they're becoming more and more popular.
Yeah.
I think they're great for commuters, and they're much better for the environment. And as you said, they can slow traffic down. That's great. But I'm also with Martin. I think that if we are going to allow them onto the roads, that we need to put things in place. Like, you need to wear something high vis. As a driver, you have to be able to see them.
Yeah. Well, it also be help if drivers, clean their windscreens and actually looked out of them occasionally. That would help as well.
I think most do, Jeremy.
OK. Storm, in the Express, you've got Elton John. Gosh, he's quite a powerful figure, isn't he, Elton?
He is, and he is furious. And actually, I understand why.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by this. So the story is... Sir Elton John has blasted the Vatican for refusing to bless gay marriages despite investing almost £1 million in his biopic Rocket Man, which is the story of his life and obviously the story of gay relationships. And so to invest in that movie, profit from it, and then say that they can't bless it because it still remains a sin is a little hypocritical, I would say.
And it was a statement yesterday from the Vatican. I know where it seemed to just come from nowhere, that they basically aren't moving on same-sex marriages, Jackie. Yeah?
Sorry, it was just interesting that the Pope was asked about this situation, and he just replied with, "Who am I to judge?" So the Pope himself is softening on it, but the Vatican in general is remaining strong in its position.
Do you think will they move, do you think, Jackie, or not, the Church?
Well, I would hope that they would do, because actually the Pope has previously moved further than any other Pope. He said homosexual people have a right to a family life. Well, it seems strange to say that and yet not to believe that your church could then bless that family life. So I very much hope that they do continue to move and that the Pope has a bit of influence on what, well, I mean, he obviously has a lot of influence, but that his view, which seems to be much more liberal, prevails a bit more in the Vatican.
David, as the music man, which would you say was the better film, the Queen one, Bohemian Rhapsody, or the Elton one, Rocket Man?
Well, I think Bo Rap was an outstanding film, wasn't it? I mean, hard to beat that. But just on this question here, what surprises me is that the Vatican is putting money into films. I find that incredible.
Well, they've got some serious money bags characters in there, haven't they? There's a banking operation there, which is looking for investment everywhere. But I'm a bit surprised that this happened. I don't know. Seems odd.
I don't think anybody did their homework clearly at the Vatican before investing.
Yeah. So great story in The Guardian for you, David, which we thought you would enjoy, about the CD collection and whether we should just throw them out.
This really upsets me, Jeremy, because when I was at Radio 2, of course, where you are now, this is some years ago, compact discs were the new things. And my producer called me the original compact disc jockey. I don't know quite what he meant by that, but what they're saying is that music is now nebulous, swirling around us like a particularly tuneful dust storm, or in the case of Gary Barlow's new album, a fart in a lift.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. I see Gary sometimes at the Radio 2. Oh, dear. I've laughed at that joke. OK. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. So, but should we hang on to our CDs, though?
Well, that's The Guardian. That's not me saying it. That's The Guardian who are saying
Too late, David. Too late.
Yes, I think so. Do you know, I made a terrible mistake. I got rid of all my vinyl. When CDs came along, I just gave away lots of my vinyl. What a stupid thing to do, because that is now cherished and, of course, very valuable. So
yeah.
Hang on to yours, Jeremy.
I did the same as you, I'm sorry to say, and I put it in my parents' loft and I found a bit of it, but I did have I mentioned this on the radio, and you'll love this. An elderly listener said, well, I've got the entire Beatles albums bought, at the time of release, and you can have them for £100 if you like, because I don't play them anymore. I said I would really like to. So my record collection is now entirely Beatles. You would approve?
Absolutely. Can't go wrong with that.
But there is this thought that, because back in the day, Storm, right, we would have the books on the shelves of what we'd read, and the films, the DVDs and the videos of what we've seen, and the CDs of what we listened to. We now realise that all that stuff doesn't need to be held physically. It's in our brains,
yeah,
right?
The only people that keep them now are hoarders, because everything's digital, right? Everything's either on our TV, on our computers, on our phones. There's no need to actually keep proper copies of anything.
So do we need a DVD collection, Jackie, for example?
DVDs I don't keep, but I do have vinyl records. I've got some just behind me here. I have CDs. I even the other day